If you're a financial advisor and you're looking to, you either do virtual sales or you are looking to begin virtual sales, especially since the pandemic, and you would like to work remote from home or anywhere else in the world, you're going to want to stick around for this week's episode of the Virtual Advisor Sales Part 3. Right, it's time to get started for part 3 of the Virtual Appointment Masterclass. We're going to help you transition prospects from appointment number 1 to appointment number 2 with the highest likelihood of converting them into an actual client. We're going to take you through a 3-step process. 1, following up your first appointment, which is where we left off. Then the preparation for appointment number 2, and of course, the process we use to help create the highest probability of creating a client at the end of meeting number 2. So let's get started. And the first appointment follow-up. So we just finished that in the last part of the masterclass. And so what I encourage you to do is to make sure that you schedule time after the first appointment to not get up and move into the next appointment, but give yourself some time to do that actual written follow-up that's so critical to make sure you're documenting everything you experienced in that first appointment and the details that are necessary that you need for appointment number 2, organizing them in a fashion and communicating in a way to the prospect that you actually paid attention, that you care, and that you have a genuine interest in helping them succeed. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is to go ahead and schedule that next appointment. So we're going to talk about how to schedule that in an automated software. Then I encourage you to do a handwritten note, a handwritten thank you note to help you stand out. We're going to review the financial diagnostic asset checklist. That's a checklist of all the items that you need in order to do the analysis and to identify which ones are missing so that you can go ahead and send a follow-up email with a request to get that information and maybe even a appointment time or a phone call to be able to make the arrangements to do that. And then, of course, you have to do the actual diagnostic summary, which is like prioritizing what the goals, the needs, the pain points of the prospect, and really be able to identify what are the most important so that you can prioritize that process rather than just doing the same analysis for every client. You're going to prioritize to show them that you care about their family's priorities. And then you're going to actually go ahead and prep the software tool. Whatever tool it is you use, you're going to put all the inputs in once you've got all the inputs that you need. And then finally, you're going to make sure they get a personalized reminder phone call that's going to be within 24 hours of that second appointment. So that's the outline. Let's dig in a little bit deeper. Okay. So using an automated appointment scheduler. So this is an example of like Calendly. There's many others out there. We'll just use this as an example. You can get recommendations from your white glove advisor, or also from me. I'll give you the information at the end. But the automated scheduler, the way that we structure it, is you want to make sure they get the immediate automated confirmation, a 24-hour email reminder with the link to join the meeting, and then just to bump it up their inbox, a 1-hour email reminder so that the link is there, make it easy for them to click on. And then finally, a 30-minute SMS text reminder that also, again, has the link, makes it very accessible for them to be able to join the meeting, especially if they're having computer issues or they're on the run. Makes it super convenient for them to be able to do that. Okay, really about setting yourself apart. It's about branding. It's about who you are as an advisor, that you take the time to actually, as busy as you are, to write a postcard, handwritten. I encourage you to mention something personal that makes sure they know that this is written by you with subject matter that was discussed in your first meeting. And that's why it's so important to do it right after the meeting, because it'll be top of mind and you can write just a few sentences, and the personalized touch is going to make an enormous impact on their first impression of you, and absolutely critical. I think this has been an enormously helpful branding tool for us as well. Okay, so then reviewing that diagnostic asset checklist. Why? Because you want to identify anything that's missing that they didn't put in the questionnaire that they turned in during meeting number 1. So go through that checklist, identify anything that's missing, especially during meeting number 1. There may have been something brought up during the conversation that makes you think you want to dive in and get more information about any of these checklist items. You may want copies of an insurance policy or an actual, if they have a variable annuity and you want to do a fee analysis, it's important then you identify that, and you're going to be able to send a follow-up email giving them a checklist of the most important items that you're going to want to have before you have meeting number 2. It's all about preparation and the forethought, and when you do that, it'll give the impression that you're thinking ahead and prioritizing based on, again, what is most important to that particular prospect and their family. All right, so then the next step is to prepare for the diagnostic summary. And again, I had mentioned it before, but that is really, it's being able to prioritize what the solutions are so that you can identify the types of solutions or concerns or risk factors that are most important to them and those that may be least important to them. And that just depends on each individual family. And so it's important to prioritize in a summary sheet so that when you do get to meeting number 2, there's no confusion about how you're personalizing this plan. And you want to make sure that you're not doing the same analysis for every single family the same exact way you do every single time. So the summary is important at showing that you paid attention to their priorities. All right, so next is actually, once you have all the information, it's getting into the diagnostic process. And I strongly encourage you, strongly encourage you, don't sell off of a historical sheet, don't sell off of a illustration, insurance illustration. People will become overwhelmed. They'll want to take it home and they'll tell you that they need to study it to better understand it, and it will sabotage your conversion rate. So please use a diagnostic software tool that can produce a summary sheet. That's what you're looking for. Write it down, summary sheet, because that's really all you want to give them. So here's 3 popular softwares: Wealthy and Wise by Ensmark, Money Guide Pro, one of the most well-used softwares, and then also Retirement Analyzer, which is one that we currently use now. And we've used both Wealthy and Wise and Retirement Analyzers, and they have really great summary sheets that you can provide your clients. So those are my top 3 recommendations. Again, you can get recommendations from your coach or other advisors. All right, so the appointment reminder call, we've talked about this in meeting number 1, super important, but I thought I'd provide you the script. So in case you're delegating it out to an employee, an assistant, we thought we'd give you the script. So you can screenshot it and provide it to your employee just to make it a little bit easier on you. All right. Second appointment process. So now we've finished the follow-up of appointment number one. Now we're getting into appointment number two. So this is critical. We've done the preparation necessary to set ourselves up for success in meeting number two. And if it's done correctly, you've now doubled your odds of actually getting commitment in meeting number two. And that's really what our most successful advisors do. It's the focus, the process is all about really getting buy-in and commitment by the end of meeting number two so that you can increase your conversion rates. But the objective is, it's really to demonstrate that you understand the prospect's individual, unique financial goals and concerns, and then connected solutions that help them feel like they can retire with confidence. And so we're going to walk them through this process, but we want to make sure that they feel like you really personalized it to their individual needs. And when you do that, you'll get significantly more buy-in from the prospect. Okay, so when they arrive, you kind of want to go through the meeting agenda and arrive, again, virtually. It's important, I think, to have a slide up. Just say, hey, here's what we're going to go through today within the next hour. And I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up of what to expect. And people like that because there's less uncertainty, less anxiety. So for our meeting agenda, we gave homework in meeting number one that you should write down any questions that you have. So you want to review those questions, make sure you answer them. And go through them, make sure that they feel like they're heard and their questions have been answered. Next, you want to review their goals and objectives. Now, you've already done that. You're going to take your summary, your diagnostic summary sheet, and you're just going to make sure that you got it right. Maybe there was a miss in meeting number one. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. So gives them a chance for you to share and ask for buy-in. And then when they do, they own it. And you know that you've done it right in meeting number one in your preparation, that you're on the right track. If not, you can make adjustments in meeting number two. 3, remind them of the purpose of their financial diagnostics. We'll go over that here in a moment. Perform the financial diagnostics. That's going to be a collaborative process between you and the client that you're going to do together so that they don't feel like you just prepared some static proposal to them that you propose to everybody. It helps them feel like they're involved in the process. They own it. It's not just a sales pitch. And then identify and demonstrate the possible solutions. So now we're getting to, okay, they bought in, they participated, and now what we're trying to do is, based on their contribution, what are those solutions? And then step 6 really is set the expectation for the follow-up meeting, which is really the let's get started paperwork meeting. And you're trying to get a commitment in at the end of meeting number 2. Okay, so let's dig in. Obviously, we talked about some of the previous steps, but I want to jump to helping them understand the purpose of the financial diagnostics, because you are going to ask them to participate in that process. One, the overall goals, like we talked about before, discover their specific priorities that will create specific strategies to protect the income that they need so that we can help them maximize the income that they want. And if you do both these steps, you'll take care of both their fears with what they need, and then also their ambitions and their goals by maximizing what they want. And if you do both instead of one or the other, you're going to have a much higher chance of converting them into an actual client. Again, the goal is to take them from their present situation, and then you're going to take them through this process in meeting number 2 and show them how you can help them get to the desired situation, desired retirement, whatever the goals are, their objectives that they have. You're going to help them with that process, and that we're going to do that together collaboratively, not just statically as a prepared presentation. So then we're going to jump into the actual diagnostics with the client. So We're going to allow the prospect to participate, tongue twister, participate in the assumptions that go into the diagnostic. So, if you're doing a comparison and you're assuming, your 401k is only going to average 4% or it's going to average 8%, let them decide what the assumptions are. If they think their 401k is on fire and it's going to do 10%, fine. Let them choose that. Put it in there. And you can educate them all you want, but let them put in their own assumptions so that you can get variations of different comparisons to see what they think and get their feedback. I love the movie, The Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the women are sitting around a table and they're talking about how do you make your husband decide something that actually you want in competition with what they want. They talk about how to subtly suggest what you want and then lead them to believe that it was actually their decision. And then you tell them how it's such a great idea that they came up with. Well, they're, as funny as it is, it's also very true. We want to lead people into decisions that will benefit them, but we don't want to tell them. We want them to come to that discovery and that aha moment on their own. And so we want to facilitate that process, creating suggestions and allowing them to decide for themselves what it is they truly want and believe. And the belief part is very, very important. So you can go through the different risks of retirement and help educate them and allow them to talk about what their biggest concerns are and then what the assumptions should be when doing a comparison. So we talked about what income they need, take care of that problem first, and then you can have a lot of fun talking about the income they want. And if they buy into the solutions for income they need, then it'll allow them to feel comfortable enough to start dreaming about the income that they want. And then we can talk about risk factors. And these are the 6 risk factors that everybody is going to have to deal with as they transition into retirement. And longevity, liquidity, inflation, market volatility, mortality, and what I think kind of the most important one that's, well, I would say it's the most commonly missed by your average American is the volatility of taxes. They don't understand that most people don't understand that we're in the lowest tax rates in history. And the likelihood is, mathematical likelihood is they're going to have to deal with tax volatility in the future, especially with what we've been through the last 3-4 years. And the deficit growing by 10 trillion in less than a decade. This is something that we're going to have to deal with and make a priority in all of our prospects' retirement plans, because this is going to be the most unexpected risk factor for most Americans. And so it's important to make sure we talk about all 6 and then allow the prospect to identify with you which ones they're most concerned about. And then you can prioritize the diagnostic based on the ones that they're identifying that they have the most concern. Okay, that allows them to buy in and take ownership. And then once they have collaborated with you and they agree there's nothing else, like you ask them, is there anything else you want me to adjust? Is there anything else? Do you want me to change anything? Do you like everything that we've talked about, the priorities, all the assumptions? Are you good? They give you, yeah, that's as good as I can think of. Well, then great. So we'll go ahead and print a summary page, and it gives a side-by-side comparison of where they're at today from a planning perspective and what it would look like if they keep doing what they're doing versus what it would look like if they make the recommended changes that the software, you, and the prospect have collaborated to create. And in addition to that, now they'll buy in, and if they agree, yeah, this is as good as I can think of, and the advisor, you're telling them, I agree with you, this is, I think, your best move is applying these strategies, then you want to give them a asset map. That's the image to the right. And that's where their assets are now and then where you're proposing those assets would be moved and in which proportions and at which earning rates, that are the assumptions that produce the side-by-side comparison. Now, again, I'm strongly encouraging you, just based on industry best practices, that rather than giving away illustrations and 70-page proposals, meeting number 2, get a buy-in off these 2 pieces of paper. If you can't get a buy-in or a commitment off of these 2 pieces of paper, then you're almost double down on the sabotage of them being overwhelmed and being deer caught in the headlights. They're going to become paralyzed with analysis. And so if they're not committed at these 2 pieces of paper, they're definitely not going to be committed at a 70-page proposal. So please reconsider how you go about doing meeting number 2, but I'd strongly encourage you. This is one of the best things we've ever learned in our personal practice that's helped increase our closing or our conversion rate. Okay, so you leave them with that, and then this is the moment where you get that commitment. And so we're giving you some suggested scripting, but there is so much more that you can add to this and personalize it. But the idea is you're trying to get them, like we said before, does this all make sense to you? Do you buy in? And does it, and do you believe that this is a solution that actually can get you to the future that you and your spouse are dreaming of? And if they buy in, yeah, this looks like a great plan. Then what you're going to suggest is that you want them to go home and schedule an appointment 5-6 days from the second appointment. Allow them to go home and write down every possible question that they have. And then you're going to tell them, then we're going to come back, and you believe that they'll have all the information they need to make an informed decision that is going to be in the benefit of moving in the direction that is most likely to provide the highest level of success that they could possibly achieve anywhere else. And when they buy into that, then what you're telling them is, okay, so let's start. If you're saying yes, then let's start the process. So you can either pull paperwork out and start applications, again, digitally. You're doing a virtual environment. If we were in person, we'd pull them out physically, but you can start providing paperwork, asking them to fill out applications to open accounts, applications. It may be, a digital life app, scheduling a time for them to go through that application process. What's great with life is you can say, look, we don't even know if this is a good option for you, but the next step is let's apply and find out if this is an affordable option for you. Because if they're, table rated, the expenses are going to be too high. It's not going to make sense, but at least let's get started and go through the process and figure out what the expenses are going to be to see if this is one option as part of one of the solutions for their individual needs. So you can get the paperwork started, or you can just say, look, I'll prepare the paperwork for you so that when we meet next, it's ready to go, so that it doesn't take up an hour of your time and you can just put signatures on everything, and you can ask for the private information that you need to prepare that paperwork. And that could be driver's license, social security, and go ahead and begin that paperwork process. So depending on where they're at, what their response rate is, or their response is to your questions, then you can kind of get a feel for whether you want to just provide the documents, schedule a time to go through an e-app, prepare paperwork, ask for private information. All of that's going to be based on how well you followed the process from our first class that we taught, follow the process all the way through to this commitment you're getting at the end of meeting number 2. And if you've done it right, you'll get head nods and, okay, give me the paperwork. Here's my social security card. Here's my driver's license. And they'll start sharing that data with you. And then you're on the right track. They're buying in, they have commitment, and that the likelihood is you're going to be able to close this. You've got the commitment at meeting number 2, and it'll take maybe one more meeting to actually go ahead and submitting paperwork with signatures. All right. So that's how we close meeting number 2. And again, everybody has their own unique process, your own unique software. I'm just sharing with you what's worked from us. This is what we were taught by our mentors at Simplicity and Jason Jenkins, Advanced Advisor Sales Training. And when he was gracious enough to share highlights with you, and I'm super grateful to them for that. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can go to www.amhresources.com, or you can actually call me on my personal cell or text me 714-391-2824. And if there's one thing that you take away from this masterclass, I hope that it is that when you genuinely want and authentically want to help people, that will increase your conversion rates. Because when you put that first, whether or not they become a client, whether or not you make money off of their individual case, if you genuinely communicate that you just want to help people and you follow this process and you're authentic, they will connect with you based on common life experiences. It will build their trust. They'll be honest. It'll create clarity for you as an advisor. And you'll be able to create an authentic plan that will give them hope. Even if they don't use you, it'll create hope for a much more successful future. And if that's all you do, then I hope you believe that it was worth your time. Thank you for joining with this class, and I hope and look forward to hearing about your success in the future.